Welcome to the Crab House! And welcome to your Moonshine in February.
Yeah, we're here. So this is all about February forecast, astrological forecast for Cancer crabs. And we were taking a peek and saying, wow, you know, some of us Cancers like to stay home, stay a little behind the scenes, but there's a lot of energy, whether you think you're out or not. As you said, you are broadcast. So, yes.
Yes, Cancer, you are being broadcast. Yeah. We have the megaphone in February for sure. And I think that's more definitely towards the end of the month, in the last 10 days of the month, 1,000,000% rocketing with that. But the first half of the month, how are you feeling about that?
I mean, some of the notes, and I just noticed that when we take and look at our chart horoscope wise for Cancer, the 9th house has a lot of activity. And that, as I was mentioning before, sometimes Cancer, we like to play it safe. We like to, our creature comforts, we like to be in our little zone where we are. And so one of my little notes I wrote to myself was, we're being called into a new shell. And so in some level, something that maybe fit for a long time, I think we're being asked to expand. We're being asked to stretch out of that. And it's funny, when Clarissa, you came up with the words, you are broadcast, which I love. But it made me think that it doesn't have to be that you're out there selling yourself, you know, in some major marketing campaign or something. It could just be simple as you're saying something to your neighbor, as you're having a conversation, you know, on the phone with someone, or you're, you know, doing something, just being aware that you're going to be more up in that position where it's noticeable. Mm-hmm. And so what you say and how you say it, and where you come from, what your truth is, what you believe in, how you live that or how you don't live that, it's going to be a bit more in the spotlight. But we wanted to open this welcome to the spotlight, but it sounded a little kind of, I don't know.
Cheeseball.
Or a little Leo-esque too, and that's not exactly what we meant by it. But there is something about, you know, in that 9th house, I mean, it's close to the midheaven. Yeah. It's public. And so that means your private life might become a little more public.
Ooh, which is like, oh my God, danger zone for me. Like, please.
Stay out.
Yeah, go away.
As you were saying, it made me think in my own practice, I've been thinking a lot about how I'm going to do social media or not do social media. And isn't it interesting that and I think we're not the only ones, Cancers aren't the only ones thinking about this, but this sense of sort of where are we at home out there in the world? And that when you're doing anything where you share, platforms matter. Like that is the home for that place. And so I think there's a lot of room for not just growth, but sometimes being able to have that sort of 9th house sort of like gavel of justice that says, no, this is not where I'm going to do it. I'm not going to do it from this position, or I'm not going to buy into this, or I'm not going to continue trying to sell something that doesn't feel in alignment with me. Because there's something about this natural energy coming through.
God, yes. Yeah, and that's really with all this 9th house energy that we're discussing right now. I think the questions for Cancer are, what are your ideals? What do you want to communicate? What is your justice? Yeah. What is it really? It's that deep. There's no hiding that and these level of expression of ideals in the month of February for Cancers. That's what we're doing. Yeah, we're grabbing the microphone with it, right? Like, it's not low key. It's not undercover. So we've got like all these planets, and we've got the lunar north node in Pisces. There's a little bit of Pisces action like the whole month for Cancers, and just in general, the whole transit to transit sky, right? Yeah. Pisces stuff is 9th house for Cancers, right? Yep. So we've got Saturn, Neptune, lunar north node. Then the sun's going to join it.
Venus is still there, right? At the beginning of the month. Yep. Venus. Yep. And even though Venus will move on February 4th to Aries, which actually means crossing that midheaven for Cancer, which is another interesting thing. Yeah. And sometimes Venus can be very attractive, right? So keep in mind that attraction power is going to be more on. Right? Yeah. Venus on the midheaven is sometimes yummy. And whether we consider it to be a good thing or not, people want to gobble it right up.
That part. And so that's the whole like Moonshine spotlight thing. Yeah. And like the whole, like, we really are like out and heard and sought by other people and other ninth house stuff. That's also travel, spirituality. It is legal stuff. And it's also spirit guides, like an individual person's actual spirit guide that's assigned to you or whatever. And that leads us to, I think, some of the moon stuff that we've got going on. So we've got a full moon on February 12th, specific time. And then we've got a new moon on February 27th. And what's going on with the full moon?
Yeah, so the full moon will be February 12th, and it will be exact at 5:53 a.m. Pacific time, 24 degrees Leo, 6 minutes for anyone who likes, the exact pieces here. And this one's interesting because if the moon's in Leo, the sun's going to be opposite in Aquarius. And in this case, we have Mercury hanging out right there with the sun, and then we have Uranus squaring the whole thing, making a T-square. So this dynamic to seek freedom here. And you and I were talking before we got on here to start recording that seeking freedom from debts is one thing we were talking about. And so, this could be, it's interesting. There's an old UB40 song called Write Off the Debt that makes me think of this energy all the time, right? And so sometimes, though, you need to collect it. Sometimes you need to write it off. Sometimes you need to just, whatever the arrangement is, that stuff we're holding on to. We're saying this because at this full moon, the sun and Mercury are in our 8th house, which is the house of, it can be inheritances or boons, if you will, but it also can be debts that we take on through the merging of energy, right? Or merging things together. So that debt could be a financial one, but it also could be an emotional one, right? There's all different ways that we have these sort of entanglements or these deep unions. And so the question here is, which of those are feeding us? Which of those are draining us? And what does it mean to liberate from those things?
And, the universe might deliver us a liberation just in general.
That's a nice way of saying something really crazy might happen.
Exactly. So something really, really crazy, and so not necessarily bad, wrong, bad, good, in a binary kind of way. It's unexpected, right? So it's unexpected release of debts and things like that you were talking about. And I think unexpected potentially alignment with new karmic cycles, which is a lot of what this 9th house stuff and all the stuff that Cancer is going through kind of in general. And on the harmonic level with this full moon, it is a 5th harmonic situation for all of us collectively. And when you look, 5th harmonic is creative free flow. It's like the child mind where you kind of just play and you strategize and you grow. It is the function of growth in the universe, but growth, spontaneous growth, right? There is an exploratory quality to it. And I think that another thing that comes up very, very clearly, so is kind of children creations and education. Yeah. So that's speaking and sharing knowledge and also receiving it as, a student or however you're doing that.
It's interesting when we have a full moon, and we have full moon here in Leo. So it means, again, that we're dealing with an opposition with the sun in Aquarius. For me, that Leo and Aquarius opposition, it is the balance sort of between I'm using these words metaphorically, but it could be literal, the show I'm putting on and the audience that's receiving it. So where are we in the mix, right? And this thing about with Uranus hanging out there squaring, as T-square, squaring both the sun and the moon, is it authentic, right? Is two things. Is what I'm putting out there from myself, how I'm expressing, how I'm showing myself off. I don't mean that in any sort of there's no problem with that. How I'm shining. Am I shining in a way that's authentic to me? And then on the Aquarius side, is my relationship with my communities and my groups or my audience, is that authentic? And so for some of us, there'd be an adjustment on either side of it. And you mentioned something along here before we started recording, saying that what people really think about you will come out. And I think that's this is the thing. And depending on where you decide to express it, who you decide to express it to, regardless of what it is, it's gonna come out. People are gonna see it for more what it is. And then they're gonna mirror back. This is a full moon opposition. There's gonna be a mirroring back of that energy. And you also mentioned random rewards. which I like too. And the random rewards could come from unusual things, right? Like there's something to be said for, even if it seems unreal and ridiculous, if you know that's you and you know without a doubt, like, this is honest, natural, this is in my heart, whatever, this is in my spirit, this is in my essence, I just got to do it, you might find that you're rewarded for expressing that energy when you sort of just like let it rip in that sort of unguarded way. I think unguarded moments could be another interesting word to play around with this full moon. If you allow yourself to have an unguarded moment, it can lead to something creative, like you said, can lead to something positive work-wise, could lead to something relationship-wise. It actually builds something. But there's something about that unguardedness. But again, we may feel jumpy. We may feel antsy.
Yeah.
Uranus oftentimes triggers nervous system stuff. How we respond to that is everything, right? We can look at it as like it's interfering and it's all getting me haywire, or we can say, oh my gosh, I'm getting stirred up in a new direction. And even if it feels uncomfortable, what's possible? Because I think a lot is possible with this is really what I'm seeing here.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that. I think that, the unguarded moments is just like, oh shit, like it's like, oh, I didn't, and the candor and the truthfulness and really like knowing what people really think about you, for good or ill. It's like, oh my God, Tara, I think you're the most incredible person in the world. And Tara's like, wait, I didn't even know you thought you knew I existed, right? Like, so we get like the full direct candor, and then it triggers our own values. So money's a big topic for Cancer in February, but also values and consideration. I think on a direct monetary and energetic level, and also on kind of like soul and collective and world and, all that kind of stuff, which I think leads us to the last part of the month, which includes
the new moon,
which is like compounds all the stuff that we were talking about, like with all the ninth house stuff and the Pisces stuff.
Yep. And so this will be, new moon, February 27th, 4:45 p.m. Pacific time, 9 degrees Pisces, 40 minutes. We were joking that it's a new moon, but this is when Cancers will be full broadcast. So, it's a play on words, but it made us laugh. We're like, yeah, when this new moon comes, you're like on.
Yeah.
It's like the new shell is in gear, and for both of us, we could just see the chariot in the tarot come alive. And in one of my decks, the chariot's actually a magic carpet ride, which I always love that idea of like, get on your magic carpet ride, because literally it's not going to be that hard to get to that next space as long as you are sort of in your genuine self. And that chariot card actually is Cancer's card by correspondence. And I always feel like it's the going within to knowing myself, sort of fleshing out, this is my sense of me, and then I take that outward into motion and then externalize. So there's that alignment. This is like going to be a time where if you've been tucking away, doing all the stuff we need to do, Cancers all need to do it. This is especially a big call to like, go. What did you say? There was something where you said, get out there. You said, I forget what it was. Do you remember? It was like
our faces are broadcast, like for real. So
look out and be out. That's what it is. Look out in the very ninth house and be out.
Wow. There we go. So look out and be out. That's really the codex for the latter half of the month, and particularly the new moon on February 27th for Cancers. Look out and be out. And I also want to say that like both moons, from a harmonic perspective, they both contain in February, they both contain the 10th harmonic. So that's the creative free flow and the expressive and the exploration and the fun and the game. But it's 10, so it's 5 times 2. Times 2 is the opposition, and the second, the 2 in harmonics means with others. So that is creative collaborations. That's collaboratively creating with the world. Yeah. Like, and so that's another part and portion of the coming out for Cancers, and the alignment in the chariot situation that Tara's talking about. Because I feel like one thing that we need to say just so directly is that February is when Cancers feel in alignment with our own being, paths we want to navigate and follow from the deepest core of our souls. I don't think that many of us Cancers have had the opportunity to do that. We've had a lot of external circumstance and like divine intervention working mostly on our behalf for like almost the better part of a year. And so now we get to end of February and things start clicking in terms of what we ideally want to experience in the world, not just with ourselves, but like with others.
And you mentioned fate and destiny in here too. And I thought that was really beautiful because, again, the when we may have not talked about this too technically here, but the new moon, of course, is conjunction with the sun, and that's in the 9th house. So again, this 9th house is getting like even, blowing up even more, which we could say, how are you selling yourself? And I don't mean to sound like a marketing person here, but I just mean the things that are important to you, your truth, right? Your values. How are you literally selling or sharing that with people around you? Now that new moon is square Jupiter, and Jupiter is the ruler of that new moon, and it is in Gemini in the 12th house. So both the 9th and the 12th house have a lot of spiritual energy. You were mentioning how the 9th house is your spirit guides, and that the 12th house would be etheric guardians, right? Sometimes we'd say angels, guardian angels is another thing we sometimes say for the 12th house. So there's something about having, if we're willing to open up the space in a different way, because a square requires, we got to kind of come apart and come back together in a new way. But there is information just ready to drop in. There is flow just ready to drop in. You talked about prepare to explode when it comes to success on some level. Not explode. It's funny because in January we talked about shit the shit. So I think that in some ways the shit has been paving the way to make room, right, for what actually wants to manifest now. And Jupiter is about manifestation in so many ways.
Right. And so that whole processing of shit the shit, which Tara and I were joking about our reality of literally
shitting the
defecating like on, in exact alignment with the forecast dates for January for Cancers. But like, so we're not shitting shit anymore. Right? Like that's like a big thing. Yeah. Like that processing, that alchemical processing of what no longer aligns in our lives. And that guardian angelship and all that kind of stuff. Now we are steering a ship directly again, and we have Mars direct again. When does Mars go direct?
February 23rd, Mars turns direct, and this whole time it's hanging out in, well, except for the very beginning of the retrograde, the majority of it's been in our first house. So when it turns direct on the 23rd, which is just days before this new moon, it's sort of like, okay, I've got the new orders if I paid attention, and now I can act on them.
Right. We're released to act in a pointed direction versus like, oh, I want this, but then all this other crazy shit is happening and I need to divert my attention and blah, blah, blah. And I don't think life is all about what you want. And that is a lesson for Cancers that we've had. It's like what we thought we wanted, actually it wasn't in alignment at all. And that's what we've been experiencing and like letting go of for the better part of at least the past year or so. And prepare to explode by the end of February and the whole fate and destiny thing. The 13th harmonic is lit up by the new moon on February 27th. And it includes this giant grand trine with Sun, Moon, Jupiter, Uranus, Pluto. And Jupiter, Pluto is compulsive expansion, and Sun, Pluto, all these are dynamic energies. Sun, Jupiter, Pluto, you show up, you go big, you are big. You don't even have to try. And then we've got the Uranus-Neptune, and Uranus-Neptune in harmonics is like transforming into a different character. So we're exploding into kind of like different characters, personifications aligned with our fate, if you will. Because that's another thing that one of the things that the 13th harmonic stimulates.
And the 9th house is so much about going bigger too. And it's interesting, you were talking about that, how we might recognize as Cancers that what we actually wanted isn't what we actually want, right? Well, the other thing is, and I know this is true for me and I see it in a lot of the Cancers that I work with and spend time with, we expect to feel a certain way, right? Something should make me feel a certain way. If someone likes me, I should feel a certain way about it. Now, there's some truth that the intuition around Cancer is strong, but sometimes we are so programmed to expect that feeling a certain way is what makes it okay or safe. And I think part of this is an expansion around, honestly, even what kindness feels like. I mean, I don't know about all of you, but I've been reinventing that stuff for myself. What does it actually mean to be kind? What does it actually mean to be supportive? What does it actually mean to feel like I'm in a supportive relationship? And sometimes the old model is, well, if there's not confrontation, right? Or if someone's nice to me and they answer when I call, but I don't know, like, is that really what it is? I think this is an expanded way of looking at it. And this is also another beautiful way of thinking about that whole Pluto in Aquarius too, in relationship with friends and community and things at large. The old measures for what means that it's okay and that this is going well, I think, and this is hard for Cancer, we got to get a little thicker skinned, right? Everything doesn't always feel good, and that doesn't mean it's bad. That helps us stretch and grow. So if you want to be in a new shell and you have only people that make you feel nice in your old shell, you're probably not going to make the leap. And I have a little note on my page here that with this energy for the whole month, but especially coming up here, when we come to the new moon at the end of the month on the 27th, that it is trust and faith, not blind faith, but there is like trust in making a leap into a new version of yourself that contributes to everything. So I don't know the perfect words to put around that, but there's something so important to me around the old measure of here's how it was supposed to feel may not be the best guide. In fact, being uncomfortable may be a more helpful guide. And Cancer usually hates that. We hate the uncomfortable.
Yeah, I totally hate being uncomfortable as a Cancer anytime. And that is, I think, the perfect way to wrap up February from the astrological point of view for Cancers, because I would say it's like sensationally and rewardingly uncomfortable. And so
that is maybe what did you say? The unexpected rewards. That's part of it. But they don't come from feeling all cozy in your little blanket with your hot chocolate.
Yeah, it comes from being out, right? Like, so and like literally exactly what that means. So I think like the social pace, it definitely picks up. We're more in kind of like demands. Yeah. But then I think that some surprises are uncomfortable, whether they are, quote, bad or not. Like, if you actually get what you want, that creates a shit in your pants effect. It creates, it's, and
now what? Because that's what happened. Now what?
Now what? Like, now I need, this is actually real. And then it's like the similar things like, this didn't work out. I'm sharing like the opposite extremes because sometimes, you have like triggered emotions for both of the outcomes. But definitely expect surprising outcomes. We're definitely blowing up in general, in terms of popularity, in terms of ideals, in terms of, money, career probably expansion, because we still have that Venus in the 10th house and all this other stuff. And also just those unexpected, candid surprises, truths, and how that's bringing us rewards. So
I just love this idea of remember, and I'm saying this to myself as much, any of this I do, I say to myself as much as to anybody else, but like your broadcast is live. If it wasn't like you're, and that is, and I also, as you were talking, this made me smile because, so at the beginning of February, while the sun is still in Aquarius, that's in our 8th house. 8th house is where we go deep and down, right? But when on February 18th, that moves to Pisces, that pops up out into the 9th house. It further supports this deep dive we've been doing over the last month, which includes shit the shit. 8th house is perfect for shit the shit. That deep dive, that part of the rewards is now you find, sounds so cheesy, but you find the diamond in there. That's the 8th house. You get down there and you find the diamond. You got to bring it up through a bunch of sludge and crap and shit or whatever. The point is the 9th house, it is out.
Yeah. Boom. Like it's like we're now like out and ready to express it. We're ready to share the diamond. We're ready to share the crud, and the message goes farther than we think. This is such a dope month for Cancers. I'm so excited.